Triple M Grill Team.
Very sad story, and it's something that makes all our blood boil in here at Triple M. All 36 Indonesian terrorists who were sentenced to anything less than life for their parts in the 2002 and 2005 Bali bombing attacks, well, they're now free. Only 5 men from those 2 attacks who claimed the lives of 92 Australians remain behind bars on life sentences, and they won't be ever be able to have clemency. That's something. Among those freed include Abdul Rauf, who was sentenced to 16 years for recruiting the 2002 suicide bombers, and Mohammed Choli, who served only 7 years of his 18-year sentence for assembling the 3 suicide bomb vests used in 2005. Can you imagine how the survivors and the survivors and the family of the victims are feeling this morning, Matty?
Well, look, myself and MG did a fair bit of stuff with the Coogee Dolphins, who the rugby league side that went over there and lost so many young men, and you know, to sit and talk to those families and the pain they went through, and you know, that stuff, like, it just never disappears. They carry that their whole lives, and I just look at Indonesia and I say, what do we get out of this relationship with Indonesia? I don't get it. I refuse to go to Bali. I just don't like the joint. I think it's a really dodgy place, and you know, the fact that if this was almost any other country in the world, there'd be huge sanctions put on them for what they're doing here. But they can just do as they please, and we just have to cop it.
And Australia kisses the behind of Indonesia for fear of upsetting Indonesia. And I'll tell you this, there will never be a thing we will do right enough to make them think of us in the class that we like to think of them. I mean, we spend all this time thinking of Indonesia as a potential friend. I can't remember a time when they have treated us like that. We're treated hostilely, we're treated with hostility. Our prime ministers are treated with contempt by their media, never respect. And we're meant to sit by and watch this. And I look at this morning, like most people, and I think, you know, be your views on, say, a Chappelle Corby character. But, you know, the time she did in jail for a bag of weed, right, in a country where you stumble over drugs as you walk around in Bali, and we've got fellas who killed people in a mass attack, a mass murder, getting off with really, I mean, you know, a gentle time inside prison. The insult that goes to the people, the victims, the survivors of all of this, I don't know how you would feel today hearing this news.
Well, let's speak to one of those right now, Jason. Erik de Haart. He's a Bali bombing survivor. Erik, thanks and welcome to the Grill Team. How are you feeling this morning, mate? Let down, I imagine, amongst many other thoughts.
Well, Gus, it's hard, I guess, for a lot of people to explain how one's going through. It's like another smack in the face. You know, myself and the other survivors and the families associated with Bali have been given a life sentence. When the Dolphin boys get together, there's always 6 holes where those other guys should be. We have to live this for the rest of our lives, and it just, I don't know who I'm more disappointed in, the Indonesian government or the Australian government. We give these blokes in excess of $300 million in aid a year. Why? Why? They just keep throwing it back in our face. They burn the Australian flags whenever they get pissed off with us and stuff. You know, we never burn the Indonesian flag. We never do that, but we give them aid, and they just keep throwing this crap in our face all the time.
And you know what they do with the aid, Erik? What they do with the aid, that they generally spend it on their army or their navy.
Or it's substitute the money that they would have spent. We're looking after a country that will not find goodness in us, and we're spending our time. And Erik, I look at the insult to your friends, to the family members, to that extended community that this delivers, and I just think, you know, don't go telling me, Indonesia, about anything to do with justice.
Mate, I'm in complete agreement. Now, I run a tax practice in the eastern suburbs. I have people come in and go, oh, yeah, I love going to Bali. There's such nice people. I'm going, really? Really? How can you say that? How can you look me in the face and say, there's such lovely people, I have such a good time there? They seem to don't need a reason to find an excuse to throw it back in our faces all the time. As you say, the Bali 9, they were associated with drugs, but no one died. They're still in prison, and the prosecutors got upset with them because their sentences weren't long enough.
And they're in prison because... I was going to say they're in prison, mate, because they're meant to be in prison, because what they did was wrong. Killing people en masse with an explosion for an ideological religious hatred, which was what that was all about in Bali with your mates, that is a far greater capital crime than a bunch of drugs.
Exactly. But it seems to me there's one law for us and another law for them. Now, you hear about the Australians getting caught, but what about the people selling the drugs to the Australians? They never seem to get caught.
Yeah. Unbelievable, Erik. And I'm with you, Erik, 100%, mate. When you hear people come to me and they say, "Oh, you been to Bali?" I said, "No, I went there once and I won't go back after the things that has happened over there." And people say, "Oh, you got to be kidding! The Balinese are such beautiful people." And I go, and I look at the way they deal with these terrorists, and I go, "Really?
Yeah.
I just don't get it."
Yeah, I'd go to Fiji any day of the week. Not you. Signer1234 says on Twitter, as we've been talking, boys, did I hear correctly that some of the bombers have been set free? Question mark, question mark. So I'll never step back into Bali again. That makes that decision nice.
Have you been
and
to Bali,
easy.
Gussie?
I've been once, mate. I'm exactly the same as Maddie. I just felt it sort of, I don't know, just seedy and dirty and horrible. It was before kids. We go on a family holiday now. If we don't go to get back to Vicky's family in England, we go to Fiji.
How about you,
Couldn't get the
Jason?
nice
Have you been
people
to
in the world.
Bali?
A couple of times, mostly for work, after the things that claimed Eric's mates' lives. And I have never felt more unsafe in a country that runs itself at the point of a gun. And I kind of think, and I walked away from that, I'm thinking, why does Australia bother bending over and showing these people that there is no end of things we will do to try to get on with you? Because Indonesia has made a decision about Australia, and that's that. And the insult of this, I mean, I asked people this morning, did you ever think when those bombs went off, when we saw those hideous images, not just the first time, but the second time, and there was another attempt as well, did you ever think we would live a life where we'd see these people come out laughing outside the prison? And that's what's happening this morning.
It's hard to believe. Erik de Haart, very brave survivor of the Bali bombings. Thank you very much for your time this morning, Eric.
The Triple M